what type of loans do you offer to real estate investors? Is it like the DSCR type of loans that you see with like more national lenders, or what's the primary thing?
Yeah, sure. And I'll even throw you a little bit of a spin there. We're owned by 13 credit unions, but we work with over 100 credit unions nationwide.
Got it. Okay.
So we have all over. And I would say a lot of what we do, probably about a third of our business at least is the traditional single 1 to 4 family residential investment properties. Whether it's in your name, 98% of our deals are in an LLC name. And those are very traditional loans. We'll go up to sometimes 80%. In today's world, sometimes it's 75 or 70 to make the numbers work. We really look at it from a global basis as far as getting your financials, seeing what you have now, what this property is going to contribute to your income, or what's the viability to get there. And in that world, we have seen we do short-term rental properties, we do student housing, we do larger multifamily. But also, if you're a real estate investor and have a small business, we do all sorts of small business loans on trucks and vehicles and SBA loans, up to what would be considered, larger scale real estate, where we've done deals up to $40 million.
Wow, that's incredible. So for the, we'll just say average person, somebody who maybe they're working a W-2 job, maybe they are primarily just working in real estate, either flipping properties or doing something active in real estate to pay the bills and building a rental portfolio. Are you requiring them to have like W-2 income to support if they want to get a loan on a rental property? Is it based off the performance of the property itself, or is it based off of their personal income?
Yeah, the answer is all of the above.
Okay.
We really work, if you're brand new into this venture and just starting to get in, a very, very common loan for us is somebody who has a W-2 job. They have an account at the credit union, and they're starting this journey towards rental properties. Maybe it's just supplemental income. Maybe it's to build a portfolio towards retirement. Whatever maybe they're working towards that retirement and they're looking at this as a way to get some income. That is a very common occurrence for us. And in those situations, we're going to make sure that you have the ability to manage that property and it's reasonable. One of the biggest mistakes that we see people, if one property is good, 20 must be better that first year or two. And it really can overwhelm people. So we're going to want to make sure that what you're doing is reasonable for you. It's good for us. And we're all on the same page together. Now, as people develop, we have many, many investors who that's their full-time job. They're either into commercial, multifamily. They have a large set of single-family rental units, and this is their profession. They have a website. They have a company. This is all they do is the real estate investment business and everything in between. So, we really, at a credit union level, we're really about serving the people who have account holders and in that community. So that's really a broad range of people that we want to work with. There are some banks, hard money, kind of that soft money lenders where they want to be in and out of a deal. Mm-hmm. We want that relationship. We're looking at this in terms of what can we do for you now, but also what we can do in the future for this business and real estate piece, but also for you personally.
Yeah, that makes sense. And do you do loans on fixers as well? Like if people want to do sort of that burst strategy, do
Yeah, we do plenty of properties on the fix up basis. If you want to do, if you're doing a ground up construction, we do some of it. It's not our biggest strength is that straight ground up construction, but almost every property that somebody buys is going to, when you walk into that perfect property that needs nothing, you probably can't afford to buy it and rent it out and make some money.
Exactly. Yeah. It's a trade-off there. Yeah. No, that makes sense. I see. So you'll provide some of the financing for the rehab portion as well sometimes.
Yeah. And we'll have some people where, maybe after they've been at it a little while, we just provide a line of credit so they can do what they need to do and then term out some stabilized financing.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. And is there anything you recommend to people that you see come up as red flags when they're trying to qualify that you would recommend getting in order to be in the best position or most favorable to lend to from a borrower's perspective, like things that they can get in order in advance?
Yeah. And the first thing is credit analysts are very smart. So they're very good at, and most of them kind of have that personality of a computer programmer. It's very dry. They're very by the numbers. So if they give you feedback or ask questions, take it as free consulting. They're usually going to say, oh, this rental projection is way off of the marketplace because this is what we're seeing. Show me what we're missing. Because we want to lend the money to the community, but we also want it to get paid back and don't want to put you in a position where it's going to sting in a year or two. So when those questions are raised, make sure that you don't take it. You take it for what it is of somebody trying to want to understand your business. The second is if there's that hair on the deal. Maybe you've had some bumps in the road on your credit in the past. Maybe there's something going on with this property. Just disclose it on the front end because it's eventually going to come up. And all it does is slow down the process. And it's much easier to know what we can work with. But the biggest piece is every lender has a checklist that says, here's the items 1 through 8 that we need. Don't think of it as a suggestion or recommendation. Get them items 1 through 8. Whether you agree with it or move on or not, get them items 1 through 8, and it's going to make your deal much easier. Now, the first time you deal with any lender, I always say it's kind of like an 8th grade dance. We're staring at each other and nobody knows quite what to do. But just keep it organized. Get us everything we need to do in the process. We're trying to learn you, not for this particular transaction, but for the long-term relationship. Because that's what we want. That long-term valued relationship where the first one, maybe it's a little rocky. Maybe we're asking some questions where you're like, what the heck are these people doing? But we're not lending in a box. We have to make the numbers work, but we also want to understand you. We want to make sure that you're a fit for the credit union and you're a fit for us on where you're going.
That's a great point. And if you're new to this too, it pays to just pay attention to what's being asked and organize that in a way that's easily accessible in the future, because it's like time and time again, you're going to go through the same process, pretty much similar, regardless of the lender, to where you're going to have to provide these documents. And so having a Google Drive or a system to where, you've got a copy of the front and back of your ID, you've got your, EIN documentation and your operating agreement and all that stuff that you are being requested over and over again, have that available, and it makes the process so much easier than reinventing the wheel every time. But to your point too about, the lender providing feedback, and maybe it sounds, it's frustrating to hear, especially if you're new and you think you've got a grand slam deal and you're getting what feels like negative feedback, but that can be the best advice in the world, because if lender after lender is telling you you shouldn't be doing this deal, you should probably listen to that, and instead of just trying to find somebody that will say yes to something that might not be a smart decision. So I think those are such great points you make. You mentioned that you do small business loans as well. So could a real estate investor borrow for operating expenses as well? And what type of loans would that look like?
Yeah, usually the small business loans are typically when you're making a product, you're selling a service, you're a dentist office, you're a carpenter, you're a farmer, you have something that you're making or selling. If it comes to your real estate business, usually for a small business loan, usually that's to that point to where you're a real company. You're a real company. We don't do too much. If you're just an investor and need some working capital, we call that your equity position into this. But maybe you're buying a real estate franchise, or you have a real estate office, and that's where you need to expand that and hire some more people. That's usually where we see that. But a lot of our real estate investors have what I'll call their day job as a small business owner doing something.
Yeah, exactly. And that a lot of what I've seen is people try to vertically integrate to where, they were just buying properties and hiring a contractor, but now they create their own contracting company, so that they can hire themselves and then take on other people's jobs as well. And so, to your point, that would be sort of like the day job where they're making their active income, and the investments are sort of growing their passive income and net worth as they continue to operate that day job. So if you have something like that, you could potentially tap into other financing sources as well through the credit union here. So that's interesting.
Yeah, you mentioned something important that I think it's really good and important for people to recognize their skill set. There are many people that we deal with who are contractors. They're very good at what they do. They can fix up. For when I had some rental properties, I was the exact opposite. I am the money guy. I'm the deal guy. I'm the accounting guy. And let's cross our fingers nothing breaks, because I am calling somebody to do it. So that is very, you don't have to be an expert in everything. You got to build a nice team. And as you grow, that becomes more and more critical. You can't do everything to everybody. Those people are few and far between who are the handyman. I can take care of this, but also the money people and know the deals and the finances too. So,
yeah, that's so true. You don't want to overextend yourself trying to save. You step over $1 to pick up a penny, they say. So it makes a lot of sense. And based on all the changes in the market since COVID happened, how has this impacted lending, on investment properties specifically, and where do you see things going from here, market wise?
Yeah, sure. We've seen a big shift in the short-term rental markets, because we have seen some areas boom, and then as travel patterns shifted, they pulled back just as quickly. So you need to be careful. If the short-term rentals are your model, make sure you understand that marketplace and the trends. And is it more of I live up in the mountains of Pennsylvania, and every place around here was packed because they were trying to get away. And this was, they were doing the regional vacations, and it's really slowed down a little bit. Other areas haven't missed a beat. So we're really seeing, And we are seeing, and I truly believe there is an inherent lack of housing in this country. So under the normal long-term rentals, those are very, very solid. Now, the challenge has been when rates were in the threes, you had a lot of room to make really good margins. With interest rates coming up quite a bit, we have seen a lot of people, they're not making the money they once were on these newer deals, but what you're doing is you're making what we would call historical averages pre-COVID. So, when your rate goes from 3.25% to 7%, that because you were trying to maximize rents, and that all that does is eat into your bottom line. But if you look at it, you can still make some money, but they're just not quite what they once were. And we think, hopefully, rates have peaked, and we're going to see a little bit of a creep downward. Inflation was a big cause and the number one reason why we weren't seeing new units come onto the marketplace. If you're going to build something ground up, there's opportunity to rent it. Okay, first of all, who's going to build it? And do you know what your prices are going to be? So those are the challenges that we've seen in the new construction. And as population shifts, new people come into the workforce, people are locked into their homes with long-term rates, and people aren't selling homes, which is really kind of creating a death spiral in supply. That is tough. But liquidity among financial institutions has also been a challenge. And we think it's going to be a challenge for the next year or two. The strangest thing is for you to go to your lender with the big marble pillars and, has bank in their name and say, do you have money to lend? We've always just made that assumption that says they have a big stack of cash and can just lend. But for the past 1 to 2 years, a lot of lenders have really struggled when interest rates rose, and they are intentionally altering their credit box to cut down on lending. They're not cutting down on lending just because of interest rates. They're cutting down on lending because of liquidity, and that's the industry's dirty little secret. Mm.